So, everyone seems to be talking about that new Wednesday Addams show, right? Everyone seems to be talking about it a lot. So much so that it's been breaking all sorts of records for Netflix originals. A real sight to behold, truly. But through cultural osmosis and a whole lot of doom scrolling, I have found that there are 3 indisputable facts about the series. 1. That dance scene is super cool and super awesome. 2. Jenna Ortega is hot, brings a fresh take on the character of Wednesday Addams that is super cool and super awesome. And 3. Wouldn't it be cool if X underdeveloped character made out with Wednesday? What about if Y underdeveloped character did it? Because personally, I think that would be super cool and super awesome. But jokes aside, I'm honestly kind of amazed that a show as unengaging and fucking paced as Wednesday has risen against all odds to become so successful. And I guess that's my opinion spoiled in the first minute of the video, so if you expected yet another critique that's willing to gloss over the glaring flaws that the series has, you're more than welcome to click away. I'm sure there's still a spot left for you in the Tumblr backlots. But for those willing to hear me out, I promise this isn't a case of me trying to be a contrarian just for the sake of ragging on the cool new popular thing, because I genuinely don't even know what the consensus of the series even is, because yes, while I have seen virtually 0 people criticize Wednesday, I can just as easily say that I haven't really seen anyone praise the show either. The discourse surrounding the series seems to revolve entirely around those 3 talking points, and you know, fair enough. I don't think I could have made it through 6 seasons of Better Call Saul if not for all the gay subtext, but usually there's something else to talk about. And in the case of Wednesday, there eventually is, but it's like the show is hellbent on putting as many obstacles between its audience and anything actually worth watching. So I ask, in the grand scheme of pop culture, how significant are the Addams family? Because honestly, I wish they were more relevant than they are. I really like the idea of this fictional household full of weirdos that has become a cultural mainstay just by virtue of the fact that they're a little bit too quirked up for their own good. However, I'm also a realist. The reason why we keep them around is the exact same reason why they really can't get any more popular. I love them, but they're kind of one note. Versatility is not their strong suit, and that's fine when you're writing them in a comic or a sitcom or even the right movie where it's understood that you came for a laugh and not much else. But when you start weaving in elements of teen dramas and classic mystery stories, things begin to get messy, and I think this is the biggest problem that Wednesday has, that it doesn't really understand the implications of what it's trying to be. You see, I laid all of that groundwork not to establish myself as an Addams Family purist, whatever that means, but because I wanted to raise the question, at what point does an adaptation just become a new thing entirely? How far can you push the original work? It's a question that's incredibly relevant when talking about Wednesday because the series is incredibly willing to put this concept to the test, so much so that, in my opinion, it kind of breaks the foundation. But let's talk about the idea of the adaptation, because my argument for why the show doesn't work hinges pretty heavily on it. When adapting any existing work, the creator must carefully consider what the audience has come to expect from the property while also putting their own twist on it so it's not just a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. And this change is good, this change is welcome. Up to a certain point, because simply put, there are some things that are basically always off limits. You change too much, and the adaptation becomes a different thing entirely. In the case of the Addams Family, I think that the problem is that the characters themselves are too rigid to allow for much flexibility genre-wise, and I'm not saying it could never work, but here it doesn't, despite the many things that the show actually has going for it. So it looks like the writing gods have decided that I'm going to take on all 3 of these talking points at the same time. Lovely. At its core, Wednesday is a teen drama. Before it is anything else, it is a teen drama. Wednesday Addams, the character, is basically everything that your typical teen drama protagonist shouldn't be, and this could maybe be a fun idea to play with if the creators were at all willing to subvert the conventions of the genre in any meaningful way, but they aren't. So yeah, I do think Jenna Ortega is easily the best part of the show, and she does a good job with everything that she's given, but it's not like what she was given is anything amazing because it doesn't mesh with the rest of the show at all. It feels so unnatural anytime Wednesday has to interact with the supporting cast because they don't know how to play off of her monotone. It feels so stilted anytime the show grinds to a screeching halt so that Wednesday can exposit a line of dialogue that has a paragraph's worth of buzzwords shoved in it. And it just feels wrong anytime the show tries to go whole hog with the teen drama of it all and lets Wednesday have her pick of the mayonnaise, because if there is any character in the vast pantheon of fiction who does not need a love interest, it's Wednesday fucking Addams. And I don't think any dance scene, no matter how cool it is, regardless of whether or not it's divorced from context, could ever change that alone. It's what makes me think that this discount Harry Potter pilot was floating around the offices at Netflix, so they brought on Tim Burton and got him to stop being racist for 5 minutes so he could awkwardly try to squeeze the Addams Family name into the project. Also, side note, why Tim Burton? Dude hasn't made a good movie since like 2007. Sorry, 2005. Anyways, there was a reason why I said that the worst thing about the series is that it is an adaptation, because if you remove the Addams Family, there isn't really anything to get that upset over. You're left with a show with a bunch of forgettable characters, some Riverdale tier dialogue, and a story with some honestly decent twists and turns. The main difference is that if it wasn't attached to Wednesday Addams, I wouldn't have watched the show, and let's face it, you wouldn't have either. You know, I'm just disappointed, because now that Netflix has another hit show basically exclusively because of TikTok, we're stuck with it for at least another couple of years. But hey, that doesn't doesn't mean it can't get better, right? I know it may not seem like it, but I'm rooting for this show, because despite its many, many flaws, that dance scene is still pretty cool and pretty awesome.
Mamushka, Mamushka, he comes with Mamushka.
But all of that is to ignore the show's actual biggest problem, not enough lurch. Give me more lurch.